Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Greg's coming to you on the 18th of November 2020 with wars and rumors of wars. What else will you expect in 2020? Holy smoke, this year is the you-know-what burger. Wow. So Israeli forces attacked Iranian forces and Syrian forces inside of Syria Tuesday night, just last night. And what they did is they hit Iranian Al-Quds forces in Syrian army bases. So they wound up hitting Syrians and Iranians. And their targets were near Damascus. And they did this just hours after they found improvised explosive devices on the Israeli side of the border of the Golan Heights. So they found devices that were set there, explosive devices meant to do damage to them, so they struck back. And it's not the only time they found these. So, but they've released video of this incident, something they've not normally done. So they're doing things a little different in this occasion. But this is not all that's going on. No, not at all, not even close. So we're going to talk about this, but we're also going to talk about Trump had a meeting where he was considering hitting Iran, and Iran responded to that. And Israel is actually considering hitting Iran with or without American support. So things are getting really tense. Now, that doesn't mean these things are going to happen, but things are getting really tense over there in the Mideast. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to unpack that. Now, I got to tell you, yeah, now it's time to prep if there's ever been a time of prep. But what you need to know is that it's time to grow. If you're not gardening, you better start gardening, because the availability of food might get in very short supply. And so what I would suggest is that you come here to my channel and look at these videos I got. Check out, I got a lot of videos on this channel that you probably haven't explored. And one way to explore them is not just to click the right area here, it's click play all. But look at this, growing microgreens in your home. You know, you can do this year round through the winter, and you can get a lot of yummy food. This stuff grows fast. You'd be surprised, you know, look, you can grow this stuff in like 7 to 10 days, depending on what you're growing. Some stuff grows faster, and usually you only need light on it for about 3 days. So on your kitchen counter, you can have a bountiful amount of greens to eat from. That can really help you in the wintertime to lift your spirits. You're eating good, nutritious food that's 40 times more nutritive per weight than regular vegetables. Believe it or not, up to that much. Microgreens are powerful, and they're very tasty, and you can get a wide variety. As a matter of fact, you can support my channel when you not these older videos, but some of the newer, not even these older videos on Power Grid Defense, become to my more recent videos. And you click the links below. You'll find links to True Leaf Market. I guess I need to add them to these other videos. But on True Leaf Market, you can order the seeds for microgreens. They also tell you how to raise them, but I tell you, I'm going to show you in my video, so you'll get more out of watching my videos. But there's a lot of good data in here when you buy the seeds, and you can get all the supplies to grow them too. Not only that, but you can get seeds for your garden, stuff that you want to plant in the spring, things you want to grow next summer and fall. I'd say get them now while you still can, while the getting's good, because our grid may go down. There's many things that could happen, especially when we get into a tough with some of these other countries. Yeah, Iran may not seem big by United States comparison, but we're going to talk about what a conflict there could mean to us here. Stop that share. We're going to talk about what could happen right here. So anyway, you need to know and understand the dimensions of this, what it can do to us. And we'll talk about that at the very end of this video. And that will underscore your need to prep and other things that you can do to prepare yourself and your family so you can stay safe. Because it's a proposition on my channel to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. I use it on my left hand. I can't get 3 fingers up in my right hand for some strange reason. Survive, thrive, and survive, thrive, and survive. Thrive, yeah, okay. Now I can't even think straight. See what happens when I switch hands. But I bring you these videos in the proposition of helping you keep your eyes wide open and head on a swivel. And my followers, I call you swivel heads, because I know you're doing that. And that's good, because that's how you stay aware of what's coming. And I do everything I can to help you with that. So bang the bell, subscribe to my channel, bang the bell for update notifications, and click all. But then you need to come back pretty frequently and check, because the algorithms are really smashing folks down. And a lot of my videos, as much as they allow you, although they also now don't let people smack, some people tell me they can't hit the like button. Weird stuff happening. I'm going to do a session after this one at 10 p.m. Central Time tonight, we're going to be talking about where to go forward with this channel, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's challenging us on these platforms, and it's got me concerned. It's got me concerned about what I need to do. I need to change my plans. We'll talk about that later. I've kind of hinted at it some others. I haven't made any decisions. It's just well, we'll just have a family community chat session like we usually do. I'm doing a little bit later tonight just so I can get this video out. It's just tough for me to get videos out because I have a day job that keeps me busy till late, and it takes time to produce these videos too. All right, enough with all that. Let's get back to the subject at hand. What is going on in this land? So, as you might be aware, like I said, what's happened is according to the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli Air Force, actually, the targets they hit were storage facilities, headquarters, military compounds, and the ones that were controlled by Al-Quds and by Syrian army. And this is all around Damascus area. They also had the surface-to-air missiles, advanced surface-to-air missiles fired at Israeli aircraft, and they retaliated against those and took out some of those advanced SAM sites. So the Syrian state news, which is called SANA, or Syrian State News Agency, okay, I don't know where the A comes from, but anyway, SANA claimed that, no, not Santa, that's me, SANA. SANA claimed that there were 3 of their soldiers that were lost, 3 Syrian soldiers, and 1 injured. There's no reports about what happened to the Iranian soldiers, none as of yet. So we don't know what the story of that is. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had the following to say. He said, "We will not tolerate any attempt to attack us from Syrian territory. Whoever tries to attack will bear the consequences." And well, there were these airstrikes occurred while our U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is visiting in Israel, which makes it even more interesting. So let's talk about these a little bit more. So why that matters is that Tuesday actually marked the 2nd time in 3 months that these improvised explosive devices were discovered in the Israeli side of the border. And Israeli forces claim that the Al-Quds forces using pro-Iranian militias and local Syrian, so there's other militias, not just Al-Quds forces, and local Syrian forces were operating near the border in front of Golan Heights, and that they were planting things like these to engage in attacks and other kind of attacks directly on Israeli forces. What the Israeli Defense Forces said is that they attacked the 7th Division of the Syrian Army near the Golan Heights. And he said that's where the Iranian forces operate from. And he said other targets were a military base near Damascus International Airport. That's interesting. And they were operated by Iranian forces, and another facility near Damascus where the Iranian forces officers live, excuse me. So yeah, it's getting really interesting. So the next thing that we want to think about, and I'm going to talk about the long-term potential of all this and what it really means, is that the Trump administration actually had a meeting. They had a meeting that they were pondering striking Iran, because it came out that Iran actually had produced 12 times more uranium than was allowed under the Obama era Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. That's kind of a mouthful. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Call it jackpot. I don't know, jackpo. How you pronounce that in a word? JCPOA. That's the acronym for it. But so they actually turned out to have a lot more enriched, low-level enriched uranium than what was thought. And that really ratcheted the Trump administration up to considering what they might want to do. And he may be a lame duck. So, you know, they're talking about something they might do prior to the 20th of January. And there are different reports about this meeting that conflict. Some say that Mike Pompeo and various other officers, such as Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley, Elliot Abrams, all advised him not to do it. But there's also some that came out and said, no, there was no one had advised him not to do it. So there's conflicts and reports on that meeting and the outcome of it. There's also conflicts and of expectations for what may yet come, because some people do not think that that's a done deal yet, particularly the Israelis and some of the things they say about it. And I'm going to go into that in a moment. But allegedly, senior advisors urged Trump not to pursue military strikes against Iran. Now, that's a little bit different saying that they had to dissuade him from it, urged him not to. But that's according to a New York Times report. And these officials had warned that such an attack could spark larger military conflict with Iran in the coming weeks. Now, that's possible. And we'll unpack that a little bit too. But like I said, two of the Trump officials said, they didn't have to talk Trump out of it, contrary to other reports, as I mentioned. So, yeah. But here's what the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, I believe we get that acronym right, the IAEA, the International Agency, reported that Iran had amassed a stockpile of 5,385.7 pounds of low-enriched uranium as of the 2nd of November. And that's up from 4,641.6 pounds that they had on 25 August. And that is, like I said, 12 times more than what they were supposed to have produced or allowed to produce under the previous deal, which of course we left. But the report said Iran had continued to enrich uranium to a higher purity than was allowed in that 2015 deal. So that's not just a low enriched, they have more to higher purity level. And that may be the point of concern. That might be what would spur actions by either the Trump administration or maybe Israel going solo, potentially. And what a lot of people don't realize is that actually Netanyahu had planned to make a strike himself previously, but his cabinet did not go along with it. We're going to talk a little more about that too. So, but the Israeli officials, of course, had expressed concern. They're worried about Biden. They're thinking the Biden administration would attempt to re-engage Iran on the nuclear agreement similar to the one they had in the Obama era. And they don't support it because they think it gives them escape paths to do what they want to. That the checks and balances just aren't there. They can still run all this stuff under the cover and get away with it. That was a concern with it. Yeah, on the surface they would agree to something, but the verification just wasn't in the cards as they thought it should be. And so it was deemed that Iran would just get away with whatever they wanted to do, and that's why Israel opposed that, and it is why the Trump administration, of course, went along with Israel in that opposition. Be it right or wrong, left or right, I'm just reporting to you what the stands are, what they're claiming, what they're thinking. Okay, I'm not saying any of this is right, but as you know, the Trump administration did take a hard line on this since 2016, when they withdrew from the nuclear deal that was previously established by the Obama-Biden administration before. And as you know, the tensions have just been climbing between Israel and the U.S. and Iran, especially after the U.S. Did that airstrike that killed General Qasem Soleimani, and I reported on that right after that happened. So you can check my video on that. Now, he was the head of those Iran Al-Quds forces that I just mentioned that the Israelis just struck in Syria. And it's been reported, among other things, that Iran is actually planning to assassinate our U.S. ambassador to South Africa in retaliation for that. She's got nothing to do with that. But South Africa has got a lot of Iranian influence in that area. So, what all is at play here? I don't know. But yeah. We're living in very interesting times. 2020 is a bit too interesting. And maybe all this is just plans to destabilize things to serve the purposes of those who would like to bring in a great reset. We talked about that a little bit here, didn't we? Anyway, wow. So Iran responded to all that, of course. You know, Iran's not just going to say, oh, you're planning to hit us, you're having plans, you're having meetings, you're talking about attacking us. So Iran's government warned on Tuesday also that any attack by the United States would face a crushing response. A crushing response is how they put it. And to which Israel had a few things to say also. Now, it seems that Israel's speaking for us for some reason. I don't know. It sounds strange, right? But Israeli Energy Minister Yuval Steinmetz, excuse me if I murder his name, Yuval Steinmetz. Anyway, it's spelled Steinitz. Yeah, a little rough for this redneck tongue. He said, if I were the Iranians, I would not feel at ease. He said, if I were the Iranians, I would not feel at ease. And then he continued. He was saying this on the Israeli army radio, by the way. So he was broadcasting this to the Israeli military. He said, it's very important that the Iranians know that if indeed they suddenly dash toward high levels of enrichment in the direction of nuclear weaponry, that they are liable to encounter a military might of the United States. Now, of course, Trump had said, you know, we will not permit it. We will not permit that. We will not permit them to get that level. You may recall a long time ago, Netanyahu went to the UN and drew a picture of a bomb, old-fashioned, you know, cannonball type bombs, the fuse coming out of the top, and he drew levels, and he said Iran was here. If they get past this point, you know, we just have to attack. I think they're past that point he was talking about already. I think he was building that case for this other attack he had hoped and to do a while back. We're going to get into, but his cabinet didn't support him on that at the time. So, as you may know, here maybe don't know, in 2008, after it turned out that George W. Bush was a lame-duck president, Israel actually thought the United States would either attack Iran and wipe out their nuclear facilities or give Israel the green light. They didn't think the United States would allow those nuclear facilities to continue. And yet they did, and now they're much bigger. So to a lot of the Israelis, they're kind of seeing shades of 2008 again. And again, they're actually expecting the Trump administration would do something, just as they expected George W. Bush would do something. Will he? We don't know. So, you know, this is a lot of speculation. You just have to keep that in mind. You know, Donald Trump, you know, has got a mind of his own. What's he going to do? Will he go for it? He thought about it. Is he totally out of the game? Will he give Israel a green light to go to it? How well will that implicate us? And Iran's always said that if Israel goes for it, they're knowing they're doing it to support the United States. It's actually kind of difficult for Israel to reach that far with the strike. Yeah, they've hit Iraq and took out their nuclear facility years ago. That was easy for them to do way back in the 80s when Saddam Hussein was in power. But Iran's a little bit further to go, and Iran has some very strong defenses. So they're going to have to do some mid-air refueling and have other logistical support. They've got a lot of hurdles to jump through to get over there and pull off sorties that would do that kind of damage. So, but the Israelis they see positive signs that make them think that Trump's going to do something. And the various items of speculation that prompt them to do this and catalyst for that, such as the firing of Mark Esper. They see the firing of Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense, that took place last week, and a replacement for him as being a top among the top Pentagon officials, which are Trump ideologues, is a sign that Trump may indeed either support them directly or give them a green light at least for these operations. So they're actually reading this as if the United States would actually conduct operations ourselves, as if we would attack, and that Trump is lining up the cards for that. And maybe they're reading a lot into this. I've heard people take other takes on the firing of Esper, quite a few other takes on it. So it may be that the Israelis are taking great liberty with their interpretation of this. So they should be careful, especially when speaking for us, as I just reported, you know. So, but you know, there's no doubt there's a lot of coordination taking place on Iran. Elliot Abrams, the administration's top envoy on Iran, was in Israel just this week for talks with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Like I said, Pompeo is there now. So what's going on? Yeah, there may be some planning. There may be something cooking. It's hard to say. But you know, their top general just had a video conference with Mark Milley, you know, General A.V. Kochavi, I don't know, Kochavi. Yeah, I'm not sure how you say that. My Hebrew is a bit rusty too, my friends. My redneck Hebrew is just a little bit rusty. But anyway, Mark Milley apparently had a video conference with him, video call. So what's cooking? Is something cooking, or is it just nothing? Maybe we're telling them to stand down, to hold on, don't hold your fire to see the whites of their eyes, or you know, who knows what it is? Who knows? Or maybe we are planning something, or maybe we're just giving them a green light. It's hard to say. It's hard to speculate, especially when Netanyahu and Trump both are getting into it, because they're both, you know, they're men with their own minds. It's hard to say what they're going to do. So for veteran Israeli-Iran watchers, they say it feels like a rerun of 2008. But see, it's also 2012. 2012 is when Netanyahu was actually wanting to strike Iran. Excuse me. Yeah, I get brain locked occasionally. But he wanted to strike them in 2012. But his cabinet would not support it, not entirely. It may be different now. There's more enrichment, and they're starting to do a higher level enrichment. They might just go for it. You know, we don't know. That's the risk of the whole thing. It's just a wild guess right now as to what's to go forward. So we're going to talk about what it means to us. You know, and you know, also Netanyahu's facing a re-election, so he may not want to take the risk of launching an attack and then during an election have missiles raining down on the heads of people in Israel. So he's kind of danged if he does and danged if he don't in some respects, because they really don't think they're going to get support from the Biden administration, Biden and Kamala Harris. So there is speculation that Israel might actually strike out even without Trump support. They might do it and do it now. The old adage, get it while the getting's good, but there's blowback. And not only would Netanyahu be worried about missiles raining down on the heads of Israelis and taking isolation, but so would other members there, and it could be his cabinet just won't support it again. But again, like I said, there's also more enrichment on the Iranian side, so it's a little different. They might push harder. They might see it as their last chance. So it's anybody's guess. It's anybody's guess as to what in the world might actually go down. But here's why you need to be concerned. It's not just something happening over there. If we get involved, of course, our troops are over there, our sons, daughters, brothers, grandkids are at risk, you know, over all this stuff. And is it worth it to them? On the surface, I'd have to question that, you know, to some degree. Why do we want to risk our people over there for this? You know, this is, you know, I've been advocating a let's get the heck out of there strategy, and I still do. Well, why are we over there? Israel's got stuff they can take care of themselves for the most part. Why are we there? There's some people that will argue with that, though. There's people on both sides of this. I am just telling you what's out there. This isn't an advocacy, oh, Greg's for this, Greg's for that. No, I'm just telling you what can go down. The reason that is you need to be ready. What can go down is as follows. If we get involved directly or indirectly, or if Iran even thinks we're involved, they may strike at us. And they do have a few options that you may not be aware of. And I mentioned this in some other videos. It's in their doctrine. If they have a war with the United States, that they try to take down our power grid. And it was said to the leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that, hey, you know that there's only 9 substations. If you take out the right 9 substations in the United States, you can take down their whole grid. That was told to him. That was actually told to him. His response was this: well, 9? I've already got 20 targeted. I've got sleeper cells already set to take 20 of them. That was his response. That was his response to that point. It's often been said in the United States that 9 number has been kicked around. But his response was, 9, I got 20 targeted. Wow. Wow. So we're talking about the main substations. You take them down, you get cascading failures. You remember when the tree branch brought down the whole Northeast a few years ago? Yeah. Well, what happens though when you start frying these large 200 to 400 ton high voltage transformers? It takes 18 months to replace them after you order them. I mean, to get them on your loading dock. But what happens if all the power goes down and you can't even requisition them? You can't coordinate the reception of them. And if the whole grid goes down, if you don't get it back up fast, and you don't have the resources because you fried these things or somebody took them out, then wow, it could take 10 years. And then they've already projected that 9 out of 10 wouldn't survive the first year. And I have talked with the people that are involved in those analysis, such as Dr. Peter Pry, and I've told him, I said, Dr. Pry, you were optimistic. And because they were reliant on thinking more of us in the rural area were more self-sufficient, growing our own gardens. That's why I tell you to grow your garden. And upon my surveys of looking at farms, I come to the realization that most farmers are only growing market food. They're not producing a garden for food to eat. Now, I'm somewhat guilty of that myself, but guess what? I got seeds. Lots of seeds. Yeah, right now I got a market garden, but I could switch. So if you come raid my garden today, well, you're going to get a lot of garlic and turmeric. Be interesting to see you making meals out of garlic and turmeric. I would probably laugh at you, but I do have a lot of seeds. And I know how to eat in the trees and the weeds. Watch my videos and you'll know how to survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. There we go. Now my head's screwed back on my shoulder so I can keep my eyes wide open, my head on the swivel. Thank you. All right. There's one other thing of concern, and that's the potential for an EMP attack. Okay, they haven't got the uranium enriched enough. Maybe not. Maybe not. But I had heard reports. Just reports. I can't verify. But I had a friend who was on the inside. He told me, and it may or may not be true. I'm not going to sit here like some other channel. Oh, I got a friend, got a friend, got a friend. I actually bring people in the Pentagon and generals on this channel for interviews. Okay. But in this case, the individual who was connected with some of these agencies told me this. Take it or leave it. He said that when the Soviet Union fell, there were 2 complete nuclear missiles in Kazakhstan with warheads that went to Iran. That Iran actually has 2 fully complete warheads. Yeah, the triggers would have baked out by now. But guess what? Iran's developing all kind of technology. They know how to make triggers by now, or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So, yeah, I assume that they could have replaced those triggers. Therein lies the dilemma. So, as some of you may remember, I've had Stacy Zavicki of Sustainable Stewards on this channel talking about a vision that was shown to her in her vision by Jesus Christ. And it was warning that if we don't pray and repent, we've got some rough time ahead. Because in this vision, what she saw, I'm just telling you, this is her vision, the prophecy that came to her and how she saw it. You go interpret it for yourself. You may not believe in such things. I'll leave that to you, but I'm just relaying the message. And her message, she did not know. Look, this lady worked in a dairy. She didn't know what an EMP was. She sees my video. She calls me and started asking me all about what's an EMP, what's this, what's that. And it's like, oh my God, what did you say? She saw 2 missiles fired, exploding over the United States in space. How would you know anything about that? Causing an EMP, taking down the middle and eastern parts of the United States. One well placed over the Midwest could take out the entire United States. But 2, that's interesting. The number 2, she saw 2 missiles fired off the coast of Venezuela. I said, whoa, you saw what? From where? What do you do for a living? This is like top level military analysis. It's like, if you want to do a sneak attack, how do you pull it off? If you want to do something that's, look, China, Russia, North Korea, and of course, Iran, are all heavily involved in that failed state known as Venezuela. No, Venezuela don't have anything to attack us with. Venezuela's not going to attack us. But Venezuela can't even police next door, let alone a few miles offshore. So if somebody wants to stage something offshore Venezuela, that's the ideal place to get away, because nobody is policing it. Nobody knows what's going on out there, least of all the Venezuelans. So if some country wants denial plausibility and they want to launch an attack on the United States, that would be the place to do it from. If in the course of the lame duck administration of our president, should it be lame duck, and it may not be. The news has already coronated Biden, but the Electoral College has not voted yet. Therefore, he's not technically yet the president-elect, only by according to the AP and every other news agency, but technically no. Now maybe it'll be so, but right now technically no. But with all the talk, all the hearsay, if they think they're about to get hit, they might decide to strike first. If we do hit them, it is in their doctrine to do that, if they have it. Do they have it? Could they do it? Would somebody else do it? Would somebody like blame it on them? Oh, they did it. Well, if this happens, everybody's going to be saying they did it. There's 4 countries that have the capability to do that. They're operating in that area. And we don't have a dew line looking south. I mentioned that in my previous video. We don't have the military systems of radars looking out over the Gulf of Mexico to see where things are coming. We don't even see it coming. Just, you'll be walking along, munching on your Twinkies, and suddenly you'll be seeing planes fall out of the sky, and you'll go, what is going on? And all the lights are going around you. Then you're going to go, oh, man, I better get in my car and get back to the house. And you run to your car and it don't crank. And you're going, what the heck? Actually, most vehicles will crank, probably, but we don't know. They are something of a Faraday cage, but not a good one. So a lot of them will be fried, and some won't. Especially the older models, they'll be the best. Like my old stuff, especially my old truck or my old tractor. They ought to run just fine. But a lot of stuff's going to go out. A lot of planes maybe falling out of the sky. You'll be looking around, holy smoke, what's going on? Yeah. Suddenly things would get very ugly, and then it would get a lot worse. First, an EMP won't affect you physically unless you've got like a pacemaker in you, and then you might have a problem with it. I don't know that it affect your feelings and stuff. I don't think so. They need a conductor. They need a little wire or something to act like an antenna to pick that signal up. But the EMP can operate on shorter signals because you get high frequency components, unlike the CME, which is mostly long frequency components. CME would be from the sun, a coronal mass ejection will be picked up by power lines and railroad lines and pipelines, long conductors. But there is a long conductor aspect also of an EMP. So you get both, plus a heavy lightning type component. Yeah, EMP is nasty. It's nasty. It's got a lot of components. If they hit you and strike you, it's like a 3-strike punch, E1, E2, and E3. Okay, so that's what you got to worry about. You got to worry about the power grid going down. That's why you need to grow your own food. That's why you need your own food. Maybe you need something to cover you for the short term. So check out prepwithgreg.com where you get $100 off a 4-week supply of 25-year long-term food storage. And yeah, that's a great deal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Check it out. I'm not going to talk about any more in this video because I'm mainly promoting the True Leaf in this video, but do check it out. And links below to these things. So, but hey, look, no, watch my videos. Learn how to eat from the weeds and the trees, for Pete's sake. That's fairly free. You go to the big box stores to buy as much as you can there. Get the stuff, stock up. I'm going to do some more videos on just stocking up on the kind of things you need and things that people don't think about. But, of course, that may be harder to carry around. You do need some stuff you can carry easily in case you have to bug out. And we'll talk about bug outs down the road and all kind of other topics if we're still here. If the grid's still up, the channel's still running, if we're not taken down. Yeah. There's a lot of I'm seeing a lot of disturbing signs and what's happening on my channel, and so I don't know what's coming, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So I got to go. I got to upload this video and get ready for my other video. So everyone, all I'm going to say is be ready, be prepared, brace yourself, because there's so much going on the outside. You know, I just did a video about what might happen if India and Pakistan get into it. I've done videos on India and China. Yeah, those can affect us with a nuclear winter right here. Food prices going up, all kind of bad effects can come out of stuff, higher UV. And then we got the civil strife here. And then we got our own strife directly with China and other countries. With Biden going back to the White House, he's sure to ratchet it back up with Russia. So, wow, we live in times that are too interesting. Then there's this whole prospect of what's this great reset? Yeah. All right, my friends, we can band together. We can survive. We got to stick together, pray together. Email me. Yeah, I keep telling them to get this email address fixed. I just keep having time to do anything. Email me at howpispace@aol.com and put tribes in the subject line to get on our list of where we're developing our tribe networks. And if you're interested in joining the future, the Freedom Restoration Foundation, put freedom in the subject line, and we'll do what we can to help you there. Yeah, we're formed. That group's already formed, and we are meeting. We've got a list of legislation we're going to be acting on, and we have a Facebook site and a MeWe site, and we'll be setting up a web page soon. Anyway, everyone, we're trying to do something. We really are. But, you know, we're all busy people. We all have day lives and jobs, but we're doing what we can. So hang in there, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for watching.